was kind of glued to the television, watching the news. It wasn't anything that was really pleasant. So a way to combat that was to just submerge myself down in the studio and just start writing. Because whenever I either wrote music or read music, it completely took my mind off of anything surrounding that was going on. So the writing came fairly easy. It was pouring out, so I just wrote and kept writing. And yeah, it turned into almost a 2.5-year project where I wrote so much, probably have about 16 new pieces of music that will stretch out over two albums, so it'll be a double album. And I called Your Music up and I told them about it. And I was expecting them to say, you can't do it, who's going to buy a double record? And they were really happy instead that they have it. So, you know, this record will, it started out as a solo guitar record, solo acoustic, real purist kind of record. And it just got carried away as time went on. So half of it will remain solo, the other half will have a more full production, including percussion and bass and electric guitar on top of acoustic guitar and some keyboard stuff. So I'm doing mostly everything. It wasn't easy to bring my musicians from Europe to the States at the time. And then at the end of June, I go to Milan to record some symphonic parts that will go on top of some of the tracks that I have already. And then July will be a mixing period. We probably won't come out until the first quarter of next year. But
production is coming back to what normal, so it won't be
no. Yeah. And this, I want all of what was created in that 2.5-year period, right, to come out. I don't want to release like another record years from now of that period. That's the mood I was in then, you know. And it saved my life, pretty much. Well, the sanity, yeah, because we didn't know what was going to happen to humanity in that time, you know.
Yes.
So, luckily we came out of it, but it was rough. And in some ways it was great, because I think I got to another plateau as a composer, you know. Which most of what you heard back here was improvisation. And that was solely due to the fact that we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. So we had those extra 5, 6, 7 hours a day to practice our asses off in our hotel rooms, knowing that that night we'd be competing against one another. And, you know, healthy competition. And the audience got the benefit of that, you know. And then the record came out and surprised Columbia Records, which became Sony. They were so shocked at how well that was received throughout the world.
You mentioned during our interview that you guys were been touring for 2 months.
2 months.
So Friday, Saturday was like the end of your tour. So
Yeah, the technical chops were so right on, and our, you know, the musical dialogue was really, really at the top. You
and
know.
we're speaking to each other.
Yeah. The interplay is really what made it very happening. That last piece, by the way, was just me and Paco. So there's 3 duets and there's a couple of trio pieces on the first record. But on the new record, Saturday Night, there's 4 or 5 trio pieces, no duets, and then you have 3 solo pieces. Yeah. It's quite different. They're all different than Friday.
Different.
Right.
So we want to reach out to the audience. Does anybody have questions they like to ask Al?
Yes.
What's your favorite guitar? What's your favorite guitar?
The favorite guitar now, on a lot of the records I've made in the last 15, 20 years have been with the nylon guitar made in Madrid, called Conde Hermanos. And they have a signature model that I have a special pickup on it. That guitar I'm playing from that speaker. In fact, Pac was playing a Conde Hermanos back in 1980, and I was playing an Ovation. An Ovation was a steel string guitar that myself and Glenn Campbell made popular. And it was made by an aerospace company. So this guy that owned the aerospace company loved guitar. So he was the maker of helicopters from Vietnam. So he had left over all of this helicopter shell, which is called lyricord. So he managed to use the back of the guitar, which was round, like a helicopter, right? And that's inhibited the amount of feedback. So you can actually turn this acoustic guitar up if you're playing with a band. It also had a plug-in. So it was somewhat between electric and acoustic in a way. More acoustic, but it was a unique sound. Yeah. Anybody else? Feel free.
Before we leave, who's your favorite bass player? Sorry?
Who's your favorite bass player?
Bass player?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are they still around? Well, you know, I played with Stanley Clarke, right? And he really revolutionized the bass. You know, so when that band returned to Forever, when I was 19, I got the gig with my favorite group. Chick was my favorite keyboard player and also composer. So from the get-go, I was playing in a heavily composed kind of music. They were already legends in my book, and so Chick found he had heard a tape of me playing on New Year's Eve in New Jersey with the Barry Miles Quartet. So it was given to him by who I considered to be at the time like my big brother. He's actually my sister's friend, and he was right out of Woodstock, always high. Nicest guy in the world, but like a real Woodstock hippie kind of guy. He just happened to like my music. So he took this tape that he made because he was an amateur recording engineer. And I had mentioned to him Return to Forever is my favorite band, but I didn't say to him, hey, can you go to Chick with that tape? He just did it. He found Chick in New York City and the management. And he bugged them to death until they listened to it. And when they heard it, they said, this is the guy. So Chick calls me up while I was at Berklee School of Music. And he goes, is this Al? And I go, yes. He said, is this Chick Corea? I said, yeah. Who is this? He said, no, this is Chick. I heard a tape of you playing with the Barry Miles Quartet. We love it. I said, what tape was that? It was for New Year's Eve. I said, oh, Jesus Christ. This is the night that my friend Mike, who's Mr. Druggy, put a little bit of acid. So I was, first time I ever did acid, and I was on an acid trip. And I never played better since that night. And so Chick thought he hired some other guy. So anyway, he says, look, we want you to come to New York and join the band. Not even try out. So we go down to New York. Actually, I went home first to my parents. My mother said, what are you doing home from school? I said, Mom, I'm playing Carnegie Hall on Tuesday night. My father's at the table. He goes, get the hell out of here. You're not playing Carnegie. I said, Dad, I'm playing Carnegie Hall with Chick Corea. He goes, who's Chuck Corea? I said, Chick Corea. And Return to Forever is my favorite group. And I'm playing Carnegie Hall as my first show. I'm 19 years old. Which I was nervous beyond belief. So they sent, I did my 2 or 3 days rehearsal in the city. Luckily I could read music fairly well, enough to get the gig. They sent the limo to the house, to my parents' house. They picked me up. My parents sat looking at me like this. I was facing forward. The car was going this way. My father was looking at me going, I can't believe it. He goes, you know, but I always told you how you get to Carnegie Hall. I always told you. It's practice, practice, practice. And I'm thinking in my head, it's acid, acid. That was my beginning.
Could I just, on behalf of our collective community of audiophiles and music lovers, thank you for the musical gifts that you've given us. It's amazing to be able to, aside from the couple of thousand people who heard these concerts live, to be able to get the goosebumps here today. Wonderful, Davey, for the amazing